The population here in the South County has more than doubled in the past decade, proof that thousands of Americans migrate each year in search of a place in the sun. Fact is, we've become a nation of sun worshipers. Many people think a suntan makes them look more attractive, even more successful, while others believe soaking up the sun makes them healthy, when in reality, just the opposite is true. Too much sun is harmful. We're all familiar with the short-term ill effects of overexposure, the painful blisters, fever, and other miseries of sunburn. But the long-term effects are far more serious. The sun is the major cause of the most common form of cancer in the United States. In fact, almost all of the 300,000 new cases of skin cancer which will be diagnosed this year will be sun-related, which explains why the disease has reached near epidemic proportions here in Boca Raton.
People that have fair skin and light eyes and light hair are the people that are more sensitive and more susceptible to the sun damage. But the one single most important cause is the sun.
While studies indicate the incidence of skin cancer is more common among fair-skinned people of Irish or Scotch descent, no one living in this subtropical climate is immune. And further, doctors warn that sun damage is accumulative, explaining why most skin cancers appear after the 5th decade of life.
For the people that are older and get the same amount of sun exposure as somebody who's younger will tend to have more sun-damaged skin or more changes developed during that period of time.
What are some of the changes to look for? Well, fortunately, skin cancer has visible early warnings. A sore that doesn't heal, change in the size or color of a mole or wart, the development of any unusual pigmented area, no matter how slight. Only a physician can determine the nature of an abnormal skin growth, whether it's benign, precancerous, or malignant.
I think the most important thing is to seek medical advice when you see something that's unusual, different, has just grown, that type of thing. The usual traditional warning signals of a rapidly enlarging tumor or something that's bled or obviously changed color, those are all good things to watch for, but that's often after it's been around for a while.
Dr. Mera feels it's important to make the diagnosis with the biopsy to determine which kind of skin cancer exists. In tomorrow night's report, we're going to discuss the various types of skin cancer and the different methods of treatment available today. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. Even though skin cancer is the most common form of cancer in the United States, fortunately, in most cases, it's the easiest to cure. Even though there are many different types of skin cancer, 3 are most common.
The 2 that are clearly related to the sun that we see very frequently here are the basal cell carcinoma and the squamous cell carcinoma. The 3rd one, which is fortunately much less common, is the one that everybody is really afraid of, and that's the malignant melanoma or the black mole type of cancer.
If diagnosed early enough, skin cancer can be removed with little trouble.
With the first 2, the basal cell carcinoma and the squamous cell carcinoma, certainly early diagnosis is important so that you can remove the lesion before it gets larger and more troublesome depending on the location, and before the scar from the removal will be very disfiguring. But they don't commonly metastasize or spread to other parts of the body, and they're not often considered as being life-threatening tumors.
The one rare form of skin cancer, malignant melanoma, accounts for most of our nation's 5,000 skin cancer deaths each year.
The malignant melanoma is much more like the internal type of cancers that people are concerned about, lung cancer, carcinoma of the breast, that type of thing, where it can be very serious, does metastasize, and can be fatal.
Once a pathologist has observed that a growth is malignant or even precancerous, then a doctor must decide on the form of treatment best suited to remove it. There are many different forms of treatment available today, and we'll talk about them in our next report. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. The peaceful tranquility of the Boca Raton Hotel and Club was shattered during the pre-dawn hours today when a 25-year-old Puerto Rican was gunned. More than 250,000 people in the United States will be diagnosed as having skin cancer this year. And like all forms of cancer, early detection is very important. A doctor diagnoses a suspected malignant skin condition on the basis of a biopsy, where a fragment of the suspected tissue is removed surgically and then examined under a microscope. Once a pathologist determines the growth is malignant, it's then up to the doctor to prescribe a method of treatment.
The two traditional treatments for these types of skin cancers are one called a curettage and desiccation, where it's scraped out with a little round blade, leaving sort of a saucerized sore that then has to heal in. The other kind is the traditional scalpel excision and suturing closed. There are other treatments that have been used. There's a newer treatment now called cryosurgery, where it's frozen. There's radiation therapy, which has probably been used much more in the past than it is now.
Once a skin cancer is removed surgically, will it recur? Does the surgery require hospitalization? And what happens if a skin cancer is ignored? These are some of the questions we'll answer in tomorrow night's report. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. Through the combined efforts of modern medical science and public awareness, today 95% of skin cancer patients are free of the disease following medically approved treatment. Further, scientists believe this rate will go even higher when people seek medical advice early enough. However, doctors are concerned about the number of people who ignore skin lesions and postpone treatment.
The biggest problem with skin cancers is that they will tend to invade deeply and laterally, usually just in the local area, but it can be a very destructive thing if it's left alone.
A big question asked by skin cancer patients who decide to seek surgical treatment is whether it should be done by a dermatologist or a plastic surgeon.
Certainly, dermatologists take care of the majority of skin cancers. For someone who feels that they want fantastic cosmetic repair, then possibly the plastic surgeon is the one to go to.
Another question asked frequently is whether the surgery requires hospitalization.
Rarely. The big surgery that might be done with moving around big areas of skin to cover up defects, that type of thing, might be done in the hospital, but most of it's done as an outpatient.
Now, what about the recurrence of skin cancer? Well, according to Dr. Mayer, the chances are significant.
After you've had one skin cancer, you have proof, first of all, that you have that type of skin that develops skin cancers. And there's a pretty good chance that you'll develop another one, often within the next year.
Although the incidence of skin cancer is proportionately higher here in South Florida than just about anywhere else in the country because of our constant exposure to the sun, there are preventative measures that we all should be aware of. We'll talk about them in tomorrow night's report. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. With just about 3 weeks left before Florida's March 11th presidential primary, Channel 12 News took a survey today of public opinion in Boca Raton. Our at-random sampling revealed that on the Democratic side, it's clearly Carter country.
I'm satisfied with Carter. I think he's done a good job so far. You can't beat him.
I think Kennedy's out.
I think maybe I would go with Carter.
I would vote for President Carter.
On the Republican side, George Bush, who won all of Puerto Rico's convention delegates yesterday, is by far the favorite.
I've always been a Democrat, but I do like Bush.
More than likely George Bush.
Well, I think Bush, probably.
He seems to be the front runner.
I think ultimately Bush and probably Carter will be the candidates, my guess.
Even though President Carter's popularity soared following the Iranian crisis, voters here in the South County consider the economy to be the #1 campaign issue this year.
The inflation, definitely.
I'm sure it's the economy.
Well, number one, the way the economy is going, but I think the expense of living today has gone out of hand.
Meanwhile, politics was also a topic of discussion on the campus of Florida Atlantic University this afternoon, where actor Martin Sheen, representing Senator Kennedy, entered into a lively debate with a Carter supporter.
I think there's a much stronger feeling of patriotism in the country today than there was 6 months ago. I think it's been brought about somewhat by Iran, somewhat by Afghanistan, and the feeling that the president's doing a good job. And I think that feeling can also be found on the campuses.
I don't consider great leadership that which unites us in a negative way, which is all that's been going on now. It's all ridiculous. It's all negative. It hates something, get us together enough to hate something or be against it. It's all take advantage of an international situation. That's no big deal. But get us together on a positive thing. The last time that happened in this country was when Kennedy said we're going to the moon.
Sheen traveled to the Boca Raton campus from West Palm Beach, where he's starring this week in Mr. Roberts at the Burt Reynolds Dinner Theater. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. Political activity is dominating news from the South County tonight. Fair weather contributed to a brisk turnout in Deerfield Beach, where voters are going to the polls to decide who will occupy 4 commission seats. District 2 is capturing most interest, where 2 incumbents, Robert Dugdale and Sylvia Portier, are fighting for 1 seat. In other races, 44-year-old businessman Frank Troina is running against restaurant owner Arthur D'Amato, while incumbent Ben Budd and retiree Sam Gersh face each other in the District 3 contest. Another retiree, Joseph Trachtenberg, opposes William Latin in District 4. Meantime, in the mayoral race, 47-year-old Gene Robb faces Wayne Woodward and roofing contractor Ronald Thomas for the seat to be vacated by Mayor Orrin Woodward. Well, elsewhere, longtime political observers have no explanation for the apparent apathy that exists surrounding the filing deadline here in Boca Raton. For a while, it appeared Councilman Bill Conrad would be the only candidate for 2 council seats up for grabs. Then, just 24 hours before the deadline, incumbent John Mayer filed to retain his seat, along with former Boca Raton golf pro Terry Aparapich, who decided to enter the race. Today was the last day to qualify. Meantime, voters in Ocean Ridge have less than an hour to get to the polls to select a new town commissioner. The candidates include Bradford Martin, Tom Wasserman, and incumbent Eric Mangione. Voting is taking place at the Town Hall on North Ocean Boulevard. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. Not even Cupid can escape inflation. It's costing more to say, "Be my Valentine" this year. And if you're old enough to remember the penny Valentine, well, believe me, they're only a memory. Cheapest one we could find is this one for 25 cents. And then the traditional sweetheart variety, well, they're $2.50. And the price of chocolate has also gone up. The prepackaged Valentine heart-shaped boxes, well, they start at $1.85, but that's only for 5 ounces. 3 pounds, $22.95.
The price of fine chocolate has risen about 25% a year for the last 6 or 7 years.
And if red roses spelled love in your book, well, love may indeed be saying I'm sorry. Sorry about the price this year. A dozen long-stem beauties, would you believe $60? Cheapest red roses in town, about $45.
My cost has more than doubled in the last 3 months, and we've only raised the price about 2/3. We try and keep it down, but we do suggest some alternatives to roses.
So it all adds up to this: red roses, a red heart-shaped box of candy. It's going to take a lot more green stuff to be romantic this Valentine's Day. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. The peaceful tranquility of the Boca Raton Hotel and Club was shattered during the pre-dawn hours today when a 25-year-old Puerto Rican was gunned down gangland style on a roof outside a second-floor room of a dormitory area used to house hotel employees.
We received a report of a shooting at 4:54 this morning. When we arrived, we found the victim on the roof outside of the employee quarters. He had been shot numerous times and was DOA upon our arrival.
Police have identified the dead man as William Mercado. He had worked in the hotel as a dining room busboy since early January. According to an eyewitness, an argument developed over a dice game and the shooting followed.
I seen them standing out in the roof arguing, but I couldn't hear what they were saying. And, I just seen one of the guys, the guy that got killed, holding his shoulder, and the guy standing next to his right. Then he came up with a gun and shot him like towards the neck or the head. And I seen the body fall down to the ground. Then I didn't see the body no more because there's a skylight there. But I seen the guy keep on shooting at him as he was in the floor.
About how many shots were fired?
About 8 shots.
Police have charged hotel employee Ivan Morales with the murder. 24-year-old Morales was arrested when a motorist alerted Delray Beach police that he had picked Morales up hitchhiking on I-95. I'm Eleanor Schano White reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. With just about 3 weeks left before Florida's March 11th presidential primary, Channel 12 News took a survey today of public opinion in Boca Raton. Our at-random sampling revealed that on the Democratic side, it's clearly Carter country.
I'm satisfied with Carter. I think he's done a good job so far. You can't beat him.
I think Kennedy's out.
I think maybe I would go with Carter.
I would vote for President Carter.
On the Republican side, George Bush, who won all of Puerto Rico's convention delegates yesterday, is by far the favorite.
I've always been a Democrat, but I do like Bush.
More than likely George Bush.
Well, I think Bush probably.
He seems to be the front runner.
I think ultimately Bush and probably Carter will be the candidates, my guess.
Even though President Carter's popularity soared following the Iranian crisis, voters here in the South County consider the economy to be the #1 campaign issue this year.
The inflation, definitely.
I'm sure it's the economy.
Well, number one, the way the economy is going, but I think the expense of living today has gone out of hand.
Meanwhile, politics was also a topic of discussion on the campus of Florida Atlantic University this afternoon, where actor Martin Sheen, representing Senator Kennedy, entered into a lively debate with a Carter supporter.
I think there's a much stronger feeling of patriotism in the country today than there was 6 months ago. I think it's been brought about somewhat by Iran, somewhat by Afghanistan, and the feeling that the president's doing a good job. And I think that feeling can also be found on the campuses.
I don't consider great leadership that which unites us in a negative way, which is all that's been going on now. It's all ridiculous. It's all negative. It hates something, get us together enough to hate something or be against it. It's all take advantage of an international situation. That's no big deal. But get us together on a positive thing. The last time that happened in this country was when Kennedy said we're going to the moon.
Sheen traveled to the Boca Raton campus from West Palm Beach, where he's starring this week in Mr. Roberts at the Burt Reynolds Dinner Theater. I'm Eleanor Schano White reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton.
Intimidating. You still are easy to work with. You are workable, okay? You have a tendency to spend too much money. You have a tendency to be impulsive in your buying.
Do you believe in ESP? Is astrology truly a legitimate science? Are you curious about parapsychology, biorhythms, Egyptian tarot cards? We thought it might be fun to bring our Channel 12 news cameras here to the Psychic Fair at the Pompano Fashion Square and test some of the experts on their ability to predict the future. The economy is very much on everyone's minds. Do you predict a serious recession?
Well, I'll give you an example of what I feel about the specific. I'll get a little more specific. Gold is going to go to $1,000 an ounce. It's going to level off and stay there. And then it's going to fall to about $420 or $430 and stay there. And it's going to drop suddenly. And it's going to make people bonkers that had bought it at 8, 9, and 1,000 because they're expecting it to stay there or go, and it's going to fall.
I have a feeling it's just going to go boom, 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 like a balloon. It's going to get very, very big and fat. and then it's going to blow up. And I think it's lessons for a lot of people to learn, especially those that are greedy, the fat cats.
Tea leaf reading, palmistry, numerology, astrology. If you're curious, the psychic fair will be here at the mall through Sunday. But remember, for the most part, it's all for fun. I'm Eleanor Schano White reporting from the South County Bureau. All but enthusiastic crowd that welcomed Ronald Reagan to the steps of City Hall this afternoon. The GOP candidate appeared pale and weary when he arrived here from Palm Beach.
Inflation is caused by government, and government can make it go away. Government spends more than it takes in, and it's been doing it for a long time. And then it turns on the printing presses and grinds out that imitation money. And every time they increase the supply of those greenbacks, the money that you and I have in a savings account or in insurance goes down in value.
One might wonder if these brief campaign visits really help pick up votes.
Closest we've ever been to seeing a candidate, and we really like him, so.
Have you made up your mind who you're going to vote for?
No, not yet. I don't.
No, I have not made up my mind yet. But I like to hear them all.
I think it makes a difference. Eyeball to eyeball makes a difference.
What brought you here today?
My son's in the band.
This is a fast track for a presidential candidate. Here today, back to New Hampshire tomorrow for a televised debate with challenger George Bush. Reagan, who faces a must-win situation in New Hampshire next Tuesday, hopes that he picked up some badly needed support here in Florida for the March 11th primaries. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. Funeral arrangements for Detective Sergeant Grady Brannon are being handled by the E. Earl Smith Funeral Home on Military Trail in Lake Worth. Brannon, an 18-year veteran of the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Department, was killed instantly late yesterday when his pickup truck overturned on Atlantic Avenue in Delray Beach. Police are speculating that a passerby picked up the victim's gun and radio before the Florida Highway Patrol arrived on the scene. The Detectives Bureau is urging that anyone with information concerning the missing items contact them immediately. The number is 837-2731. Meantime, a concerned citizens group in Delray Beach will meet tonight to decide whether formal police brutality charges should be filed concerning an incident yesterday involving 18-year-old Noble Howard, who was accused of stealing $5 worth of gasoline. Alleging that excessive force was used during the arrest, the group met this morning in the office of Police Chief Charles Kilgore.
I know police brutality, and I'm not an officer when I see it.
The situation, as far as I see it, it has not been clarified, and the chief is going to investigate it. When he has completed his investigation, he will let us know just what transpired. We only have one side.
I'll go over the complaint, assign it to Internal Affairs, and after the process has been completed, the board has been convened, and the facts presented to the board, and whatever facts they find are presented to me, then I will make a decision.
A spokesman for the concerned citizens group told Channel 12 News the police chief was uncooperative, prompting tonight's meeting. Howard, who was treated for head and face cuts at Bethesda Memorial Hospital, has been released on bond after being charged with larceny and resisting arrest. In other news, South County has become a popular stopping-off point for Haitian refugees. In fact, 9, including 7 males and 2 females, arrived at the Boca Inlet early Saturday, while Deerfield Beach officials rounded up 19 refugees early yesterday. The latest influx brings the number of illegal entries to more than 100 here in the South County since the first of this year. And finally, in Boca Raton, a successor to City Manager Jack Morehouse could be announced by the end of this week. City Council yesterday wound up interviews with the 3 finalists: Jim Zumwalt from Beaufort County, South Carolina, Glenn Blaisdell from Mecklenburg, North Carolina, and Marshall Bond of Monroeville, Pennsylvania. I'm Eleanor Schano White reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. The South Branch of the Palm Beach County Medical Society put on a rather unusual seminar today. The subject was worry, and medical experts discussed everything from worrying about children to growing old.
What I'd worry about, I guess, is people who worry too much, because then you get this very nervous type of parent who is watching them 24 hours, and in a sense they're almost daring them to get in trouble.
Dr. Norman Silversmith says that in today's youth-oriented society, a lot of people worry about growing older, and the worry can even create certain illnesses.
There are anxieties and fears which certainly may present themselves perhaps as tension headaches or gastrointestinal complaints, cardiac manifestations, heart disease, which is not actually based in organic disease, sleep dysfunctions.
If it's any consolation, everyone worries about something, and according to the medical experts, a little bit of worry is good for you. Meantime, the city of Boca Raton is now competing with Palm Beach and Miami in attracting some of the nation's top classical performers. Violinist Charles Traeger and pianist Andre Watts will perform tonight at the Temple Bethel as part of their outstanding Distinguished Artist Series. Even though they've performed in some of the major music halls across the country, they enjoy the smaller community atmosphere.
In the smaller communities, we will have our even bigger artistic successes because people, maybe because they don't have such an exposure to concerts as far as quantity, that the quality of them and their appreciation maybe is even more intense.
The Distinguished Artist Series will wind up its first season next month when one of the world's finest violinists, Yehudi Menuhin, performs on March 10th. Other highlights in the local entertainment scene: the hit musical comedy Brigadoon will open on the campus of Florida Atlantic University this Friday night, with performances running through March 1st. And finally, the Boca Raton Center for the Arts will hold its 8th annual Outdoor Arts Festival this weekend on the grounds of the Boca Raton City Hall. I'm Eleanor Schano reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. Funeral arrangements for Detective Sergeant Grady Brannon are being handled by the E. Earl Smith Funeral Home on Military Trail in Lake Worth. Brannon, an 18-year veteran of the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Department, was killed instantly late yesterday when his pickup truck overturned on Atlantic Avenue in Delray Beach. Police are speculating that a passerby picked up the victim's gun and radio before the Florida Highway Patrol arrived on the scene. The Detectives Bureau is urging that anyone with information concerning the missing items contact them immediately. The number is 837-2731. Meantime, a concerned citizens group in Delray Beach will meet tonight to decide whether formal police brutality charges should be filed concerning an incident yesterday involving 18-year-old Noble Howard, who was accused of stealing $5 worth of gasoline. Alleging that excessive force was used during the arrest, the group met this morning in the office of Police Chief Charles Kilgore.
I know police brutality, and I'm not an officer when I see it.
The situation, as far as I see it, it has not been clarified, and the chief is going to investigate it. When he has completed his investigation, he will let us know just what transpired. We only have one side.
I'll go over the complaint, assign it to Internal Affairs, and after the process has been completed, the board has been convened, and the facts presented to the board, and whatever facts they find are presented to me, then I will make a decision.
A spokesman for the Concerned Citizens Group told Channel 12 News the police chief was uncooperative, prompting tonight's meeting. Howard, who was treated for head and face cuts at Bethesda Memorial Hospital, has been released on bond after being charged with larceny and resisting arrest. In other news, South County has become a popular stopping-off point for Haitian refugees. In fact, 9, including 7 males and 2 females, arrived at the Boca Inlet early Saturday, while Deerfield Beach officials rounded up 19 refugees early yesterday. The latest influx brings the number of illegal entries to more than 100 here in the South County since the first of this year. And finally, in Boca Raton, a successor to City Manager Jack Morehouse could be announced by the end of this week. City Council yesterday wound up interviews with the 3 finalists: Jim Zumwalt from Beaufort County, South Carolina, Glenn Blaisdell from Mecklenburg, North Carolina, and Marshall Bond of Monroeville, Pennsylvania. I'm Eleanor Schano reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. A suspect has been arrested in the February 19th murder of 26-year-old Rachel Wilson of Boca Raton. At a news conference this morning, Boca Raton Police Chief Wayne Wright identified the suspect as 46-year-old Joseph Edward Snake Fairchild, who was arrested last night using a fictitious name, the Jackson, Mississippi motel room, with a Palm Beach County bench warrant charging him with first-degree murder.
Fairchild has been brought before a Mississippi judge this morning for a preliminary hearing on these charges. At this time, he has waived extradition, and we're making arrangements now to proceed to Mississippi to return him to Palm Beach County.
According to reports, the victim had shared this apartment at 3047 Northeast 2nd Avenue with Fairchild for the past several months.
Apparently, she had been out that evening and came home late, and sometime during the early morning hours, we believe that Fairchild had killed Rachel Wilson with a single gunshot wound to the head.
Fairchild, who is also wanted in Mississippi on rape and incest charges, will be brought back to Palm Beach County later tonight or early tomorrow morning. Meantime, 8 Boca Raton High School students face arrest on charges stemming from a disturbance at the school last month. As a result of the fracas, 1 student was hospitalized with head and face injuries. In other news, sheriff's deputies and the FBI are continuing their investigation into yesterday's robbery of the First Federal Savings and Loan Office on West Atlantic Boulevard in Delray Beach. In what police call a daring attempt, a black male about 5 feet 9 inches tall threatened to teller with a knife before jumping over the counter to grab a still undetermined amount of cash. He then fled on foot with the money. Meantime, informed sources indicate Glenn Blaisdell is the front runner to be named the new city manager of Boca Raton. 52-year-old Blaisdell has been manager of Mecklenburg County, North Carolina for almost 10 years. He's one of 3 candidates for the post to be vacated by Jack Morehouse, who retires June 1st. The other 2 are 34-year-old Marshall Bond of Monroeville, Pennsylvania, and 37-year-old James Zumwalt of Beaufort, South Carolina. City Council will meet tonight, and they'll make the decision by a simple majority vote. Meantime, City Manager Jack Morehouse said today a consultant's report charging the Boca Raton Fire Department with mismanagement is, quote, a lot of garbage and not complete enough for him to take any administrative action against Fire Chief Jack Withrow. Morehouse said he has assigned a team to study the 35-page report, and until that is done, any conjecture that Chief Withrow's job is on the line is premature and inaccurate. And finally, a question of semantics is being argued in the city's first test of its recently acquired police authority at the Boca Raton Airport. The city has cited Boca Aviation for running a taxi service without a permit. However, Bob Jetter, director of Boca Aviation, said he is within the law and he's running an air charter under FAA jurisdiction. The city says air charters and air taxis are one and the same, and unless Jetter files for proper certification within the next 15 days, the city will use its new police powers and order the services halted. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. Civil defense officials in Broward County are still assessing the damage from Saturday night's killer tornado, which left 1 dead and at least 30 injured. The storms cut a 15-mile path of destruction from I-95 to the beach, causing an estimated $7.5 million in damage, most of it in the Pompano Beach area. According to the county's civil defense director, most of the property losses were insured. It's doubted that any federal funds will be requested. Meantime, cleanup crews working round the clock since late Saturday continue today to clear away the rubble and debris. The weekend twister was the second to hit Broward County in the past 9 months. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. Voters in Delray Beach will go to the polls tomorrow to elect a mayor and to fill 2 council seats. In the mayoral race, incumbent Leon Weeks is being challenged by political newcomer Andre Fladell. And 3 candidates, Fred Blazer and incumbents Charlotte Durante and Jim Shifley, will square off in a battle to fill the 2 council seats. Meantime, the renovation of Dixie Manor could be jeopardized by a lawsuit brought against the city of Boca Raton by the former owner of the low-income housing project. Frederick Adams says the property is worth much more than the $410,000 the city paid him when it condemned the land last spring. In fact, his attorneys are now assuming that the fair market value is closer to $1.4 million. Now, if the jury decides that the city shortchanged Adams, well, monies that had been earmarked for the rehabilitation of Dixie Manor could be used to settle with the former owner. A court decision is expected to be handed down later this week. And finally, while most of the nation is bracing for a recession, it appears that South County may escape an economic downturn. In fact, Boca Raton expects to welcome between 40 and 50 new businesses each month this year, a trend which began to pick up steam in 1979.
I've personally greeted with the Chamber 86 businesses, new businesses in Boca Raton since December 13th through last night. Now, throughout 1979 in the Boca Raton in our west area, we've averaged about 20 new businesses each month for over 200 for the year 1979. And the prospects are that for the year 1980, we may exceed 300, maybe 400 new businesses in Boca Raton and the area immediately west of us.
According to Bernardo, rapid economic growth is forecast to continue here in the South County this year. As he put it, everyone is looking for a recession, but apparently it's a selective recession and one that has not selected Boca Raton. I'm Eleanor Schano White reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. They're calling it one of the largest illegal drug seizures in the history of Boca Raton. 295,000 quaaludes with a street value of $1.5 million, 463 pounds of marijuana worth $300,000 were confiscated from this twin-engine Aero Commander during the pre-dawn hours by the Boca Raton police.
Early this morning, members of our organized crime unit received anonymous tips that this aircraft would be landing at our airport.
What did you find when you got here?
We found evidence that someone had been here recently. In their quick departure, they dropped 45,000 quaaludes, which was the probable cause for our obtaining a search warrant from Judge Williams early this morning.
Do you have any idea where the contraband came from?
Based on the markings of the contraband that was contained in the aircraft, we have reason to believe that it originated in the Bogota, Colombia area.
Bootleg drugs were packaged 1,000 to a bag and labeled either Roar or Lemons. This airplane that transported the drugs has a range of 1,400 miles. It's equipped with 3 auxiliary fuel tanks. Incidentally, the registration numbers on the Aero Commander have been removed. Therefore, police have not yet established the registered owner of the craft. The total seizure, including the aircraft, is $1,875,000. By the way, this is the second illegal drug seizure this week in Boca Raton. I'm Eleanor Schano White reporting from the South County Bureau. After an 8-month search, City Council thought they had finally found the man they wanted to be the new city manager of Boca Raton. However, as it turns out, their number 1 pick, 52-year-old Glenn Blaisdell of Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, has said thanks but no thanks. He turned down the job early today that would have paid him $47,500 a year, saying he has a better offer. So now it's back to the drawing board. The second special council meeting in as many days has been called for tonight at 7:30. Since the field is now narrowed to 2, it'll be a matter of choosing between 37-year-old James Zumwalt of Beaufort County, South Carolina, or 34-year-old Marshall Bond of Monroeville, Pennsylvania, to fill the post being vacated by retiring Jack Morehouse June 1st. Meantime, City Council has approved a plan calling for the City Housing Authority to manage the complete rehabilitation of Dixie Manor. The authority will apply for a federal grant of between $1.5 and $2 million in low-rent housing funds. As soon as the money comes through, work will begin on the 40-unit project. I'm Eleanor Schano White reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. In response to a consultant's survey citing inefficiency in the Boca Raton Fire Department, City Manager Jack Morehouse today requested a 13-part report to be submitted by Fire Chief Jack Withrow.
I thought that we had adequately answered those in our responses the day that I appeared before the City Council. Most of the 13 points that he's bringing out now, we will have to go back and look at our response as I presented it to Council, and again address those issues for Mr. Morehouse. I think finally in the final analysis, the proper blame will be placed wherever it should be, and by that I mean that those things that are accusations or allegations, I think it's necessary to prove whether they are fact or not. That hasn't been done to this point. We haven't really been given that opportunity.
Chief Withrow said he doesn't feel his job is being threatened at this time. Further, he welcomes an opportunity to defend allegations made in the consultant's report. Meanwhile, the figures are climbing, but it's now estimated that more than half the mothers with children under the age of 3 are now working outside the home. Well, this trend has created an urgent need for adequate daycare centers. Here in the South County, the choices are limited, especially for middle-income families. In effect, the middle-class mother is being economically discriminated against. For example, a single parent who earns more than $6,500 a year is not eligible to send her child to this federally funded Florence Fuller Child Development Center, the only facility which cares for children under the age of 3.
This school has about 43% federal funding and has help from the United Way and the city, and the rest is raised privately, and none of the children pay anything. It's a free.
So this center serves families in the South County who fall within minimum federal economic guidelines. But what about a family of 4 whose income exceeds $10,000 to $12,000 a year?
Directors have decided that as a further service to the community, that we would provide infant care for those people who could afford to pay, but to keep it on a nonprofit level.
For the more affluent family who can afford the luxury of a private nursery school, there are dozens to choose from in the local area. But all daycare advocates agree that at this time, what is needed desperately is help for the middle-income working mother. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. With the March 11th election less than a week away, candidates for Boca Raton City Council are beefing up their campaigns. At a forum this morning sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce, the 6 candidates spoke before an audience of several hundred people. Running for 2 available council seats are Terry Aparavich, Charles Getchell, Richard Davis, Bentley Spencer, and incumbents John Mayer and William Conrad. Meantime, Boca Raton has a new city manager. 37-year-old Jim Zumwalt last night accepted the $42,000 a year post, marking a $16,000 a year increase over his current position as county manager of Beaufort County, South Carolina. Zumwalt today talked about his decision to come to Boca Raton.
The city council contacted me and made an extremely attractive offer.
Are you confident you'll be able to work well with city council?
I have been just very pleased with their response to me, of my impression with their intelligence, their ability, their concern about the community. I'm confident I'll work well with them.
There are some department head vacancies that have to be filled. Do you consider this one of your top priorities?
Absolutely. The key to the success of any organization is their staff, and the leadership of major department heads will determine what happened and how well the citizens are served. So getting those vacancies filled with the very best people available is an immediate concern for the city.
Zumwalt, who becomes the city's 4th manager in the past 5 years, will take over officially May 12th, succeeding retiring Jack Morehouse. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. If you live in certain sections of Delray Beach, word tonight is please don't drink the water. That is, not until you've boiled it for at least 15 minutes. That's to avoid the risk of any possible contamination, which may have resulted from an 8-inch water main break late yesterday, which interrupted service for more than 6 hours to residents of Villa Del Rey, Kings Point, and Oriole Village. The water company is urging all people living in that area to make certain that they boil all their drinking and cooking water until bacterial samples indicate that the water is safe. That should be sometime early tomorrow. Meantime, in the struggle to gain control of the Boca Raton Airport, city officials now want to charge Boca Aviation for the use of the city's emergency services. The airport, which is state-owned, doesn't pay local taxes and doesn't pay for such services as police, fire protection, and medical rescue. The Boca Raton City Council is now considering an ordinance that will require Boca Aviation to contract with the city for these emergency services. Well, according to a recent AAA survey, gasoline consumption was down 5.5% during the month of February. That marks the 8th consecutive month that has shown a decrease. At a AAA conference in Boca Raton today, Executive Secretary Keith Leslie discussed the cutbacks.
We've found that around the country and here in Florida that there has been a reduction in the consumption of motor fuels. There's no question about what the increase in price has had some impact on it. But we also know that people do understand the necessity for conservation.
Here in South Florida, supplies are still restricted, prices are higher than in many other sections of the country, and we still have some long gas lines.
The supply has been restricted to the point where some service stations are charging higher prices and closing earlier, maintaining shorter hours, and still being able to maintain overhead.
Who's to blame for this situation? Well, according to Leslie, it's the Department of Energy.
The Department of Energy in Washington, D.C. has done an absolutely miserable job. I think that's been conceded even within the department itself. There has been a breakdown in the system of distribution. The manner in which the allocations were established was faulty. And on top of that, there have been various revisions made within the system which have impacted very heavily on the fast-growing areas and those areas which are served by tourism.
In a dramatic plea to save the economy of South Florida, AAA has sent a telegram to Governor Bob Graham asking that he personally request from President Carter additional gasoline allocations for our area. So far, there has been no word from Governor Graham. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. Joseph Edward Snake Fairchild, arrested last week in Jackson, Mississippi in connection with the February 19th shooting death of 26-year-old Rachel Wilson of Boca Raton, was brought back to Palm Beach County today, where he faces arraignment on first-degree murder charges. Fairchild is also wanted on rape and incest charges in Mississippi. Meanwhile, the state attorney's office is investigating a shooting death at 710 Bond Way in Delray Beach. According to the sheriff's department, David Brushingham allegedly shot his 18-year-old son, David Jr., during a domestic argument. No arrests have been made, pending grand jury action. In other news, there's been a fairly brisk turnout in Delray Beach today where voters are picking a mayor and 2 council members. Andre Flattle is challenging Leon Weeks for the top job, while 3 candidates are in the race to fill the 2 council seats up for grabs. Fred Blaser is opposing incumbents Charlotte Durante and Jim Schiffley. The polls will close in less than an hour. John Matthews will have complete returns for you tonight at 11 o'clock. And hopefully in Boca Raton tonight, the final chapter will be written in the ongoing saga of City in Search of a Manager. 37-year-old James Zumwalt of Beaufort County, South Carolina, is expected to accept the post being vacated by retiring Jack Morehouse. A meeting will be held at 7:30 tonight to make the announcement. If you remember last week, Boca Raton City Council voted to offer the job to Glenn Blaisdell. However, the 52-year-old manager of Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, turned them down. Well, more than a dozen area bankers met this morning with members of the Pearl City Civic Association. The purpose, to explore new programs which would enable low-income families in Boca Raton to borrow money at reduced rates, to purchase new homes, or to renovate existing properties.
We are very interested in preserving this community and doing what we can to bring it back to being a viable community. And it's going to take whatever kinds of techniques we can do and whatever kind of leveraging we can do, because we don't have a lot of block grant funds.
In response to McGinn's request, the loan officers attending this morning's meeting pledged to cooperate with city officials in helping to obtain financial aid to help the people of Pearl City. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. You might say Boynton Beach police have their hands full. They're looking for 2 suspects involved in a most unusual midnight caper. 1,600 pounds of meat, chicken, ground pork, hamburger, and pizza were stolen from this locker outside the Poinciana Elementary School cafeteria.
Well, when I got to work this morning about 6:15, the janitor was here, and he said that they had an attempt to break in last night in the food freezer, outside freezer, and that the police caught them while they was in the process of robbing the place, and they got all the meat and stuff and put it back.
Well, it was sitting on top of the car, in the trunk, and on top of the trunk. As I say, it was just, the car was almost covered with meat. Boxes of meat, turkeys, hamburger, pork chops, French fries. They had everything.
Police apprehended a suspect and rounded up all the frozen meat. However, while searching for another suspect, the first one escaped, so the investigation continues. Well, you might even consider it an inflationary sign of the times, because you see, that same locker, well, about 3 weeks ago, someone broke into it and stole several thousand pounds of meat, and that case still hasn't been solved. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. If you talk to some of the old-time political observers here in Boca Raton, they'll tell you that the municipal election today has turned into a real ho-hummer. Voters are choosing from among 6 candidates to fill 2 city council seats, and at the same time considering 2 referendums to the city charter. One concerns the employment of city auditors, the other deals with the release of the annual financial report. These issues have created little hoopla. In fact, even the county and statewide issues on the ballot are taking a back seat to the big presidential preferential question.
Well, presidential would be my main object.
You have to be interested, otherwise, the government is just going to run you rather than you running it.
You're coming to vote today. Is it because of the presidential preference or because of the local Boca Raton issues?
More for the presidential preference.
So even though there may be some apathy concerning local, county, and statewide issues, the heavy voter turnout here in the South County today indicates that people want to have a voice in the future leadership of the nation. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. For the second time in as many weeks, Boca Raton police have seized a plane carrying illegal drugs at the Boca Raton airport. At about 7 o'clock this morning, U.S. Customs alerted local authorities that a single-engine Cessna was about to touch down.
When we arrived, we found that they had just recently touched down, and in the process they attempted to elude our patrol units, and we were successful in boxing them in.
What did you find on the plane?
We found a white female pilot and a white male accomplice that we arrested for possession of 140 pounds of marijuana with a street value of approximately $20,000. We confiscated an additional $7,200 in cash and a 9mm handgun.
Police have arrested two suspects, 35-year-old Jane Gordon of Pompano Beach and 28-year-old Richard Nickel of South Bend, Indiana. They've been booked into the Palm Beach County Jail on drug possession charges. Now, it was just last February 29th that the Boca Raton police confiscated $1.5 million worth of Quaaludes and marijuana in a plane at the airport. Well, we have bad news tonight for motorists here in Boca Raton who use the Palmetto Park Bridge. The span, which is one of the main east-west arteries from the beach to the city, will be closed for repairs beginning Monday. While the work is being done, the bridge will be kept in an up position, so boaters will have no problem. It's just the 12,000 motorists who travel the bridge every day. They're going to be forced to detour on bridges on Spanish River Boulevard and Camino Real. Well, a new $3 million wing was opened today at the Bethesda Memorial Hospital in Boynton Beach. The new emergency room, which replaces the old facility, contains the latest in modern equipment for respiratory and nuclear medicine.
The new wing here is 2 levels. On the lower level, we have our new and expanded departments of nuclear medicine and respiratory therapy. And on the first level, we have our new emergency room, our outpatient area, and also our new admitting office.
Hill says the new emergency room will be able to handle more than the 30,000 patients currently being served in the area from Boynton Beach to Boca Raton. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. Several hundred Democrats attended the fundraiser for Congressman Dan Micah in Pompano Beach tonight, with a special guest of honor was Speaker of the House Thomas Tip O'Neill. We talked with him about President Carter's anti-inflation program to be unveiled tomorrow.
I would have to presume that the president is coming in with some kind of tightening up on credit.
What about the proposed tax on imported oil that would push gasoline prices up 10 cents a gallon at the pumps? Isn't this political suicide?
In our package that we were talking to the Senate, we sent over to the president, we didn't have that tax in there.
Mr. Speaker, how much longer can President Carter stay in the Rose Garden and not face the domestic issues on the campaign trail?
Well, that's very interesting. He's got a campaign going on at the present time. It's basic in politics when you're defeating your opponent in your own party, that you don't go out into the hinterland and campaign and debate him. He seems to be having success in the primaries. I would doubt very much if you're going to find him leaving the Rose Gardens.
Speaker O'Neill admitted that the #1 problem facing the nation today is inflation. He feels confident President Carter will be able to balance the budget with the cuts to be outlined tomorrow. I'm Eleanor Schano White, reporting for Channel 12 in Pompano Beach. In the initial phase of a 7-month investigation, Boca Raton police today have broken up one of the biggest organized drug trafficking rings ever to operate out of the city.
This was one of the largest that we've been able to identify in the past year because of the scope, multi-jurisdictions, multi-state, multi-country.
You say the drugs were being brought in from South America. Do you have any idea where they were being distributed?
They were being distributed in the entire South Florida area, and we have reason to believe that some of them may have gone out of the state.
Arrested and each being held on a $250,000 bond each were 37-year-old Russell Kirkpatrick and his 32-year-old wife Catherine of Southwest 14th Place, 34-year-old Gary Kirkpatrick of 300 Northeast 5th Avenue, and Cecil Raton of 1390 South Cypress Road, Pompano Beach. Police seized 526,000 Quaalude tablets with a street value of $2.5 million, a 1976 Chrysler automobile, a twin-engine Piper Aztec airplane, as well as small quantities of cocaine and marijuana, along with charts, maps, and records used in the conspiracy to import drugs from South America.
We feel that it was highly organized, well-financed, and has been going on for the last 6 months.
Chief Wright indicated that at least 6 more arrests are forthcoming in the case. It's been exactly 1 month ago today since Wainwright took over as the chief of the Boca Raton Police Department. Since that time, his organized crime unit has seized more than $4.5 million in illegal drugs, several airplanes, cars, trucks, weapons, and over $10,000 in cash. I'm Eleanor Schano White reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. The number of Haitian refugees in South Florida is estimated to be somewhere between 20 and 50,000. They're coming ashore faster than U.S. immigration officials can process them. And due to overcrowded conditions in Miami, a boatload of refugees that arrived at Marathon Key over the weekend were brought to Delray Beach by the World Harvest for Christ mission. Channel 12 News was given a rare opportunity today to film the deplorable conditions surrounding these impoverished people.
I usually don't take, reporters up here because I don't like the Haitian people to feel like, well, they're on display. He had to be carried, and when he came, he had a terrific fever and his leg is swollen. We've had about, I would say about 10 with extremely high fever since they came in. They haven't eaten for a week. They've been on the boat for 60 days.
Oh yes, we have many of them sick.
Are they receiving any medical attention?
No, because now Sister Miriam Frederick tried to help them because she's a nurse. But for now, we don't have, they did not send any doctor for them yet.
220 Haitian refugees were brought here to Delray Beach late Saturday night. 127 of them are being housed here at 114th Southwest 10th Street, another 100 in a similar house a few blocks away. Most of these people are suffering from malnutrition, they are sick, and they need emergency help desperately.
Right now, we need small men's clothing. We have about 80 people that have no shoes to wear at all. Men's shoes, especially small men's clothing. We need toilet articles. We need blankets and sheets very badly. We need funds to buy food with, and just about everything you can think of.
There's no doubt about it, the immediate human needs of these people must be met. Anyone interested in donating clothing, food, or medical supplies are asked to phone 439-1378. What will ultimately happen to these people? Their futures are uncertain indeed.
We're waiting on the answer from the Immigration Department. If we don't get political asylum, they'll all face deportation.
At the present time, the U.S. Immigration Service is under court order that prohibits deportation. According to Ray Morris, the district director of INA in Miami, Dade County can no longer handle the constant stream of immigrants coming ashore. In the future, Haitian refugees will continue to be sent to Delray and West Palm Beach. I'm Eleanor Schano White reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. Everybody knows illegal drug trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar business in South Florida. But what about some of the trappings used to bring the bootleg drugs into the country? Well, in recent weeks, between the Sheriff's Department and the Boca Raton Police Department, enough planes have been seized to form a small air force. Early this morning, Sheriff's deputies confiscated this Piper Aztec, which landed on a roadway west of State Road 441 in South Palm Beach County. Marijuana residue was found aboard. Now, you add this to the 2 D-18s and the Convair 340, and it makes 4 airplanes picked up in the past week. They've picked up 10 since the first of the year. In addition, Boca Raton Police, well, they haven't done badly either. They now have in their squadron the following: 1 Silver twin-engine Beechcraft, 1 twin-engine Aero Commander, 1 single-engine Cessna 172, and 1 twin-engine Piper. Total value, $180,000. As Chief Wainwright put it, if things continue this way, the local police department is going to have to start looking for a flight commander. Well, for years, Robert Redford has set out to prove he's not just another pretty face. In spite of the fact he was recently dubbed best-looking man in America by a national magazine survey, Redford continues to be actively involved in the care and protection of the environment. He came to Boca Raton today to talk about a public service film he produced on solar energy, which will be shown in some 8,000 theaters across the country.
This speaks to an immediate need, and that is, what are we going to do right now to answer the interim needs of the country in terms of energy? And I personally believe, as do a lot of other people who have researched it, that that's a combination of energy conservation and solar. And if it's properly applied, it can be thought of as production. It's not cutting back anything. But I think the administration has failed to communicate that message. And
You've been very serious as an environmentalist, and yet at the same time magazines come out, and most recently they show a picture dubbing you the best-looking man in America. Does this frivolity offend you?
yeah, it's not maddening. It's frustrating. That's all. It's frustrating when you have something you feel you want to say that's responsible or credible, and it's treated with a certain amount of frivolity.
Redford said his purpose in making the solar film was to counter propaganda that has come out against solar energy from industries that either don't understand it or feel threatened by it. I'm Eleanor Schano White reporting from the South County Bureau in Boca Raton. Everyone knows illegal drug trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar business in South Florida. However, it isn't often that we have a chance to witness law enforcement officers actually forcing down a drug plane in broad daylight. Well, it happened yesterday at the Boca Raton airport. We were covering what has become a routine assignment. Police had seized another aircraft with 700 pounds of top-grade Colombian marijuana aboard. Suddenly, our news cameras were alerted that a twin-engine Aerostar was being forced down by a U.S. Customs plane at the edge of the runway. 2 men fled the aircraft and escaped into a wooded area. They've already dubbed it the drug port. This little Boca Raton airport has certainly lived up to its reputation. In the past 24 hours, 2 planes have been seized and close to $1 million in illegal narcotics confiscated. Within the past 30 days, local authorities have seized 10 drug planes and confiscated more than $7 million in illegal contraband. I'm Eleanor Schano White reporting for ABC News from Boca Raton, Florida.